So should be a quick one, but have a couple things I wanted to mention on this call. The first of which is that temp check one vote is still live for voting until tomorrow. That's the one that the DAO can express a preference as far as whether or not the unripe seeds per BDV rewards should be set to be equal, with the point being to reduce friction in conversions from unripe LP to unripe beans. So check that one out. It looks like the DAO is in support of making those equal. So once that passes, we'll put up another proposal for the DAO to express exactly what the seed reward should be set to. So the thinking right now is to have it just be multiple choice, and something like the choices could be like 0.51, 1.52, or something like that. So that'll go up tomorrow, and then hopefully that'll be clear as far as what the DAO is most interested in setting those to. Similarly, at some point after that, we'll probably do something similar for what the Bean ETH well LP token should be set to. So stay tuned on that front. Otherwise, as far as other happenings on the farm, I suppose the most top of mind is Silo V3. So I think I initially wrote in that blog post that we were going to get to propose that sometime this month. That is seeming unlikely at this point. So today we had another meeting with Halborn regarding their audit and gave them a walkthrough of some of the new changes we've implemented. And that is likely to take them 1 to 2 weeks, and there is still a interface and a bunch of SDK changes that will be necessary to implement for that to be ready for proposal. And the goal is to do, especially this change, as safely and securely as possible, and not as fast as possible, particularly as it relates to a bunch of the migrations from the upgrade to Silo V2 to Silo V3. Want to make sure we get that right and have plenty of time to test it, both at the contract level and at the UI level. That's most of what I wanted to share on my end. I'll fill in the gaps maybe after Chad if they have anything to add on the engineering front.
Thanks, Guy. Yeah, I mean, things continue to move forward here. So a couple of miscellaneous UI updates have gone out over the last week, patching some of the new functionality that's been released. You can check the PRs list there if you're interested. But the main focus remains on wrapping up Silo V3 and Basin code and making sure that those are audited to spec. So we are in the final stages of preparing the remediations that Cypherin provided us, and have a document nearly done for them, and just trying to get all of those last things kind of patched together.
Awesome. And related, Harry Smith asks, so Silo V3 pushes this to July for the Bean ETH pool? Probably, but not necessarily. I mean, they are sort of, at least technically, separate work streams, but the people we have staffed on each thing are the same people. So we'll get to refocus our efforts on the Basin integration once the Silo V3 contracts are finalized, hopefully in the next couple of days, such that Halborn can audit them. So basically, don't think that the number of weeks that Silo V3 gets pushed back will be the same number of weeks that the Bean ETH pool gets pushed back, but probably some amount, if that makes sense. So to answer your question more directly, I feel like July is pretty reasonable at the moment. Alrighty, Red Beans, anything you want to share on the design front?
Hey everyone. Not too much of an update from my side. Have mostly been focused on the Basin UX, and think we have a pretty good sort of I don't know which iteration this is, 6th or 7th iteration here. Then I think the visual design is sort of all starting to come together. The UX is pretty close. So at this point, yeah, hopefully going to spend some time in the next week working on making the UX as we have it responsive, so that it will work on mobile and look nice on mobile. And then planning to spend some time working on the Basin word mark. I'm hoping to have a couple stabs at that by hopefully a week from now, and then we'll get started on designing the well composer flow, which may not release when we launch wells, but maybe shortly after. But otherwise, I think we're getting pretty close here. So yeah, that's sort of the update from my end.
Awesome. And yeah, if anyone wants to see any leaks of the interface that Red Beans, Albion, and Marshall have been working on, I believe there's a thread in Dev General called Basin SDK and UI that's public. Let's see. Quasi-Matt asks, unripe seed parity is also dependent on Silo v3 as well. Yeah, that's correct. Should we expect that the parity will be proposed on the current public timeline early June or delayed? Let me see exactly what that blog post said. Yeah, so the blog post says that the Silo v3 BIP would finish voting at the end of early June. I think it's safe to say that that's probably a couple weeks pushed back. And I'm happy to update this blog post with a little mark on when it's been last updated. So call it proposal, early June or something like that. We're optimizing in real time here, as we like to say.
But theoretically, if Silo v3 is done being audited in 2 weeks, and it's just a matter of the UI from there, yeah.
That's right.
I'm curious if we have any estimates on how long the UI side of it might take.
The UI won't be a blocker.
All right, Silo Chat has spoken.
So that means, like, let's say that the contracts are done being audited in like 2 weeks, and we put up for vote, then the UI should be pretty fast, and maybe early June is still reasonable, or is that too close?
Well, so we had to, so given this is a significant migration with a bunch of storage changes, like, on par with replant, one thing that we did prior to replant that we think was pretty successful as far as, security and testing goes is we had like a period of a week to 2 weeks where we had a couple people full time, like trying to break, both the upgrade as well as the UI. So, to be discussed, but feel like given the magnitude of the changes, that would be of significant value to do. So, if we end up doing that, as soon as the UI is ready, that UI testing period can begin. So just don't want to be, too aggressive or optimistic about timelines due to that, but otherwise totally aligned with everything you guys are saying.
Makes sense.
Especially with these migration UI and such. With the Sunrise improvements, I feel like we were kind of working on that up until the last minute and even after the BIP was committed, and that seems somewhat acceptable given that Beans below peg right now. The morning auction won't be used heavily at the time of BIP commitment. But of course, in order for anyone to interact with the silo after Silo v3, they will have to run this migration function. So, definitely want to take the time to make sure we get this right and have the UI ready in advance to that end. So
Do you think we could enlist the the help of the general Discord to do some testing on that once the Silo v3 UI is ready?
I agree. That would be great. Would be awesome to have more than 1 to 2 people doing that. So
yeah, to give a quick overview of that, the hope is to basically set up our own mainnet fork that everybody can talk to and deploy the code updates to it, and push the UI with all of the relevant changes a couple of weeks ahead of time so that everybody can experiment with it. It's gonna take some time to get that right. There's some technical problems with it, but we're working on that now.
Awesome. Yeah, and as far as who might be a good candidate for doing some of this testing, certainly don't need to be a dev, but it would be would be great to have someone with a little bit of command line experience. So we'll be more clear on the ask and who we're looking for once we get a little bit closer to that point. So hopefully that's all clear. And I know Quasi Matt, you have that public bet, so we're doing all we can.
While we have everybody here, if you would be willing to be a part of that testing process, could you tag myself in the Barnyard chat, just so we can start building up a list of names of people to reach out to, what it would entail, and Guy and I can develop a bit more of a sophisticated document to explain things. But effectively, you'll be testing the code updates on a fork, so you'd need to have some experience, navigating wallets and playing around with the different Beanstalk functions, and possibly also some command line experience, so we can have you run some commands and test different things from your side. And other than that, just looking for folks who are willing to play around with Beanstalk and give us some feedback and point out anything weird that occurs. So the more Beanstalk experience, the better. But feel free to just tag me.
Great. As most of what we wanted to get to today. I know this one was kind of quick, but we'll leave the floor open for a few moments to see if anyone has anything they want to bring up, ask questions about, etc. And feel free to drop questions in the Barnyard chat as well. Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone. As far as for the scribe guys, I mean, if you guys want to start early, I can hop over there. But if not, we can wait till the top of the hour as well. So just let me know. But otherwise, thanks everybody. See you next week.